Thanks to you all. It's Umi. I wanted to share this video about what if my spouse is not spiritual, because I know many of you are in relationships or you entered into committed relationships, maybe even prior to your spiritual awakening. Like, you went through a shift and you began to change, and they have even created some conflict within your relationship. I cannot speak with direct experience for those of you who have a partner or a spouse who just practices a different faith or has a different religious practice from you. I have not gone through that experience personally, but I know that that can be difficult as well. So you may find some of what I'm sharing here useful. I got married when I was 21 years old. I met my husband when I was 19. And I was a completely different person, I feel like, than the woman I am now. And of course, we all grow up, but just even in terms of my interests, my communication, my intellect, everything kind of really expanded in what seemed to be a short amount of time. And it was a lot for my husband to process. Now, he is not very spiritual. When we met, my husband is a Taurus and he has Virgo rising and Gemini moon. I'm a Taurus with Capricorn rising and Scorpio moon. So on an emotional level, there was a little bit of a detachment in terms of our emotional communication and expression. But where my focus was in terms of my spiritual need, his focus has always been on providing, financial and material security. And I went through moments where I felt very understimulated, as I mentioned in the last video, understimulated within my relationship when it comes to my spiritual need and communicating that need and wanting to have more input from him, more feedback, more engagement as it pertains to spiritual matters. So whether or not, I'm trying to get him to go to church, like, hey, let's go to church, but I would want him to go and actually have an experience, be able to share in the experience with me, whether I was there and in the spirit or whatever. I wanted to share that with him. But I just seemed to be not very much interest in spiritual things, even if he would accompany me. So this definitely created frustration, and I would find myself having resentment about my relationship because I felt, I'm married now, this is it. But perseverance is key. And even as I began to change my diet, I encouraged him, like, we got to stop eating pork, we got to stop eating these things. Years ago in our relationship, I was met with a lot of resistance. He kind of thought that I would go to the extreme when it came to my beliefs. So if I believed that we should stop eating certain things, and this is the reason why, I would really have to put a lot of effort in convincing him, he's a Taurus, to do these things or to participate with me. And the same is with spirituality. I would talk about certain things, like I would be so excited about this new download of information, or I would be so excited about the astrology or something I discovered, and I would want to share it with him, and I would share it with him, but it wasn't much engagement there. Like he couldn't really give me much feedback. So I would look for others that I could connect with. I would go to like the bookstore and sit and socialize just because I needed that stimulation. And so for many of you who are in relationships where your spouse, your partner, lover, boyfriend, whatever, is not on the same wavelength as you, don't necessarily take this as a sign that you need to abandon the relationship. This person doesn't support me, or they're not, and we can find every reason to get out of a relationship, and spirituality is certainly important. If your partner is blocking you from spiritual growth in some way, if it's an addiction involved or they're abusive or things like that, that's obvious. Be sensible. If the relationship is to your detriment, then you need to get out of that relationship. As far as my husband and I, where we are now, I don't see him every day. He actually lives out of town. So I see him on the weekends, and that actually works for our relationship. And I actually left the relationship a number of times because, especially early on when I was awakening, if you will, I would get feedback from other men who could talk to me, about these things or engage and indulge in these conversations on spiritual topics. And certainly that would generate interest, that it would turn into interest that they would have in me beyond the spiritual conversation. And so I saw how this was posing a threat to my relationship. And ultimately, that, among other things, was why I would leave my relationship. Like, actually, we would separate, and I lived separated from my husband for a number of years. But we were never enemies. We were friends. I just think I was seeking myself. And I began to realize, as the virtues that I asked for were beginning to really bear fruit in me, I began to realize that I don't need to look for someone else to stimulate me. I don't need to look for another partner, another relationship. If I truly practice the things I claim to believe in, then I can exist harmoniously with someone who doesn't believe the same thing I believe. I can share the things that I'm learning and the things that I'm sharing with you all with my partner if he's interested or willing to listen. If he's not, so be it. So during the week, I can absolutely indulge in watching my videos or, burning incense or just doing my thing, kind of uninterrupted. And when he is home and we're interacting with one another, I very much surrender to, just his needs or what he's interested in doing. If watching the game or, doing whatever, as I would describe it, worldly thing interests him, I don't criticize that. I don't have an attitude. I'm not like, oh, this is so, 3D. I don't carry that mentality any longer. I now just operate in love. You know what I mean? If I can simply be loving and accept him for who he is and where he's at on a soul level, then I feel we can both exist with one another and still have a loving relationship. So there are moments where I would love to take things deeper, and I would love to share with him, these higher spiritual teachings and what it could do for him, but I don't force it, I don't push it. So as the relationship evolves and as your relationship evolves, if you are choosing to remain in your committed relationship, be patient with you and be patient with your partner. Remember to express your needs. Perhaps your partner doesn't know that your spiritual needs are that important to you. I've had to remind my partner, my husband, on many occasions that this is very important to me. I need to feel mentally and emotionally or spiritually stimulated. And I think at some point he felt that someone else is going to come in my life and, take me away from him, because it's easy to attract other people who share common interests or common beliefs. And he would essentially take an interest in these things. But I wanted it to be genuine and from the heart. So I've stopped making him feel that there was a threat there, that, oh, I'm going to run off with someone else who's more spiritual. I stopped kind of being so in my feelings about it all, and to allow things to mature and to blossom naturally between him and I. Keep the communication open. There are times when I just absolutely want to be alone, don't want to be bothered, don't want to have to pretend, and so I don't. There are moments where I don't want to sit on the couch and watch a movie. I might want to go do this thing, and I just simply express that, and I simply do that. So it's imperative that you be true to you and authentic in expressing your needs, and continue on your spiritual path, and just be free to do that. So if there's something that may be limiting you within your relationship from doing that, you have to communicate that and make the choice that is best for you, and ultimately is best for your partner as well, when you do choose to perhaps go your separate ways, so that you both can evolve if the relationship has served its purpose. So I wanted to share this on, your partner may not be on the same wavelength, and that's okay. Be accepting. Practice the things that you claim you believe in. And then this is how you will know if this is really true for you. So I know meditation works if I have a calmer spirit, if I'm more gentle, if I'm more understanding. I know that compassion, and I know that, the following the stars and these things, what it's teaching me, I know it works. So if this is true, I'm able to apply, like, oh, there's a transit happening right now that's really going to kind of impact my relationship. We're bickering more, we're distant, we're miscommunicating. He definitely knows about Mercury retrograde. Like, that's one thing he'll ask me, like, this has happened. Is this Mercury retrograde? And I'm like, actually it is. We're in a shadow period. So I do, we can share certain things. He's let me do like readings for him and things like that. But like I said, the interest isn't very strong, but he'll listen or entertain me, if you will, and it does make me feel good. So I don't know what things hold 5 or 10 years from now as far as his own spiritual growth. So I'm just being patient with that. And for many of you, that may just be the case, you know, and I'm not saying to just tolerate your partner, but to actually genuinely enter into a space of understanding that everyone is not evolving at the same time, on the same day, in the same way. We're all going through our own stages of awakening and evolution and spiritual maturity and growth. So just listen for that in your partner, in their conversation. You know, little subtle things they may do or hint to show that they're growing, they're interested, they're hearing you. So thank you guys for tuning in. Share your thoughts and comments on this subject. I do thank you for tuning in. And until next time, peace.